Today we have Dr. Kina Arnold on with us. She will be discussing her book called His Bride, I Am His, and He Is Mine. His Bride, I Am His, He Is Mine. So, welcome, Kina. I have been knowing Kina
Welcome.
since I was a little girl. I've been knowing all my life.
Pretty
So
much.
we're happy to have you on today with us to discuss
hmm
your book. And I just want you to tell the people a little bit, just a little bit about what you do and who you are.
Hello everyone. I am Kina Arnold. I am a lawyer, a wife, a fur mom, a TT, probably a godmother to approximately 10 children. We don't have any children of our own, which I do discuss in this book. And I am a lawyer by trade. I represent abused and neglected children. I've been doing that work for about 29 years, almost 29 years now. Um, about 17 months off of possible retirement from that particular kind of work. And so I'm very excited about my next. I'm an entrepreneur as well. I have various products and other books on the market as well as His Bride. His Bride is not my first book. His Bride is, I would say, technically my second book, I think. Yeah, my second book. And I teach as well as in an international school. I also teach locally as well. And I'm just really excited to be here. I'm glad some of you all had the opportunity to read His Bride. I am his and he is mine. And it is definitely a play on words. Um, Talking about being a natural bride, the whole white dress phenomenon, but also being a bride of Christ from my perspective and how I entered in this journey quite forcibly due to a horrible breakup that had me suicidal, depressed, full of anxiety, all the things when you have hopes and dreams just crash around you. And that's how His Bride was birthed. His Bride sat on my floor, edited, ready for publication for 5 years. I had no intentions of publishing it. Why? Several reasons. It's got my personal business in it. I did have to go back in before publishing, change some names, and to keep people anonymous. But if you know me, you know who I'm talking about any particular time. Other than my current husband, Big G, I refer to him as Big G in the book, but he's Eugene Preston Arnold. And we've been married for almost 16 years now. We'll be 16 years old in Sweet 16 in September. So, very excited about our journey together. So, we both got married at the age of 40. I call myself a cougar of 3 months because I'm 3 months older than him, born in June and he's born in September. But that's kind of our inside joke. But we've been on this journey of marriage, both never having been married before. He comes from a household of two-parent household and huge family with lots of brothers. And I come from a single parent household with no siblings. So very different perspectives walking into this. So we did marital counseling. We did two kinds of marital counseling: the interpersonal marital counseling with you and your beloved one-on-one. And then we also did group marital counseling, which I strongly recommend because that was a wonderful experience, actually. And graduated. We had a whole graduation ceremony and everything. So that was pretty cool. Um, and so this journey for His Bride was actually foretold to me that I would write it before I even had a thought about writing it. I felt like I didn't know enough to write anything to be telling anybody about marriage or relationships. But what we all can do, and what I implore each of you all to do, is tell your story, tell your journey, because you never know the pitfalls that you did, or the pitfalls that you came encounter with, how it can help somebody else avoid that pitfall, avoid that heartbreak, avoid um, experiencing something that is totally unnecessary for their growth. Some pitfalls and some experiences are necessary for our growth. I would have to say every pitfall that or experience that is noted in the book has been for my benefit, but I'm sure in reading some of them, you probably was like, you probably should have avoided that. They were red flags, and I decided not to avoid it. I decided to go full head, and I'm every woman type of thing, and so I experienced some hard realities. But all in all, the cleaning that, and I can only speak from my perspective or from a woman's perspective, that we must do inside out if we're preparing for our next, whether that's marriage, whether that is just relationships in general, um, or just going to our next level in life, going to that next phase in life, and you want to be successful at it. There's some inner cleaning that has to happen from a prior season. And if you don't do that inner cleaning, if you don't recognize those things, if you don't take the mirror and really uh, deal with that, I'll call it junk, head on, you would carry it. Who is that? Erica Badu had that song, Bag Lady. You're going to hurt yourself because you're carrying all them bags. That's what we do to ourselves. And we carry them and then pick up extra bags. Sometimes the bags don't even belong to us, but we pick them up because we strong. We strong like that. And that's not how life is intended for us. I don't believe that's life. That's the way life is intended for us. So that is really the baseline of how the book came to be. Um, and then lastly, I would say when I got a push from someone, no, it was like two couples that were calling me and my husband for advice. And I think at that time we might have been married maybe 6 years in. And I was like, why are they calling us? They need to be calling somebody who got 30 years, 35 years, children, grandchildren, all the things. And they were calling me and Big G. And so that was my push. And then when I published, the extra push was to put it online. So there is about 2 years worth of podcasting conversations that I had with a variety of people on topics pulled from this book that you can find on YouTube that are open to the public. You probably would go under Yahweh Beauty Inc. Or type in my name, Kina Arnold, and you should be able to pull them up. And I took topics from the book, but made them live and interpersonal and had regular people. And then I also had two therapists on. Most of the time, if not just one therapist. And just to give us some practical guidelines as to how we deal with some traumas, emotional traumas, and things of that nature. So take a peek at that. They're fun conversations. They're very transparent and very raw, I would say. So you can take a peek at that. So that was the beginnings of this book. That is how this book came to be. And so I'll open it up for questions about anything that's in the book or
Okay.
otherwise.
Thank you for that introduction. I first want to acknowledge that we do have a special guest here, along with Dr. Kina Arnold. We have Latoya Woods. I invited her to this book club session because she is getting married this year. So I thought this would be very beneficial for
Congratulations.
her as well.
Congratulations, Latoya. It's a good side.
Thank you so
It's a wonderful
thank you
thing.
so much. And on top of that, I've just become a principal of a school within 2 weeks. So this book club was like,
Wow.
oh my God. I said, why did I say yes? Because I don't have time to read a book. But I want to tell you, I'm so grateful Tanisha invited me because this book spoke to me in so many ways. I could not put it down. And the themes that it's things that I'm currently dealing with in my engagement with my fiance now. And it's stuff
Yeah.
that I experienced before I opened up to him because I went through a heartbreak myself, and it
Mm-hmm.
was really traumatic. But when I look back at an experience, it wasn't of God. It was me and my ego, which
Yeah.
stayed in that relationship as long as I did. So then when I
Mm-hmm.
finally, well, it wasn't even my choice. When he finally let go, it broke me. And I felt
Mm-hmm.
rejected. And I'm just like, and so I was like at a low point. And I just
Mm-hmm.
had to give back to God. I had no other choice but to give back to God. And
Yeah.
in that time, it was I don't want to share too much, but I was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and with it, I have MS. And so when I spoke to this guy that I was with for 10 years on and off, he said it was too much. It was too much for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I have been there for you for everything. But the one thing I
Mm-hmm.
came, you said it was too much. That's when it was revealed to me that God, this isn't of you.
Mm-hmm.
And in that same month of being diagnosed with a brain tumor, God chose to bring me closer to him. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when he started to speak to me. He told me the doctors wanted to go in and take a biopsy to see if it was cancerous. He told me don't do anything. I just prayed. And when I
Mm-hmm.
went back to the doctor, my prayer, I mean, I let everybody know that was praying for me. If you weren't praying for me, then it wasn't your business. But I did let the people that needed to know. And when I went back, the tumor was gone. And so the doctor couldn't
Blessing.
explain it because they sent me to specialists and everything I was, but the doctors couldn't explain it. And then he came in, he was like, I never forget, he said, the mass is gone. And I said, what mass? He said, the mass is gone that was on your brain. I said, no, you called it a tumor. Let's call it what you called it. He wanted to basically simplify it because they couldn't explain what happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Mm-hmm.
knew it was God. And so I
Right.
wanted you to call it what it was. It's so many things in this book that spoke to me, and just saying like I had to get time to know myself. And I took
Yeah.
that time to know myself. And when I speak to my friends who going through breakthroughs, breakups, and they're like, how did you find your fiance? How did you? I didn't go looking for him. I wasn't looking for him at that time. I
Right.
was healing. I was in my 2 year of healing time. I wasn't seeking anybody. I was just seeking him. And
Yeah.
that's when he came. And so that's why I said there's so many similarities. I'm kind of gonna speak again, but there's so many things I want to speak about. So, but I don't want to take over your book club.
It's okay. That's why I wanted you to come
That's
on because
awesome.
I knew you could relate. You know what I mean? So we're just reading it and trying to get as much as information as we can for our future relationships, and who knows what may happen with us. But I know it would definitely, like I said, it would benefit you because you are getting married. So I knew you could relate a lot of things to this book, Toya. So this is a free space. Anybody can share whenever. You don't ever feel like you're talking too much. That's what we're here for, to have a discussion.
Yeah.
Hey, it's okay. Um, I did want to tell Kina, I wanted to
Mm.
ask you to take us back to the beginning, where you said you were engaged long before you met your husband, correct? Because the reason I'm asking you this is because people, we on the outside feel like, oh, you just all of a sudden just pop and met this
Popped
man out
up.
of nowhere and you got married and you had this
Right.
wonderful life,
Right.
so that's
Right.
why I'm
Right.
asking you to
Right.
go back. I need you to tell people, and the other,
Mm-hmm.
like, we read it in the book, but I want you to go back and tell the people um about when you were engaged long before you met your husband. So that's all I
Right.
want you to tell them.
Yeah. Yeah. So there were three engagements prior to Big G. There were three. One was an architect. One was a pastor of a church in Maryland. Um, one, two, and one is a pretty known well musician here in the city. And so essentially a minister of music. The minister of music, I actually had met when I was 15. I met him at 15. And so, Latoya, when you talk about on and off, yeah, from 15 till I was about whew, 37, we were on and off with different periods of time. So much so that the only time he has a son, and the only time that I miss anything in his son's life was his high school graduation, him learning to drive a car, and his prom. Any other particular time that you can think of in a child's life, I was there. So when you say on and off, I was like, yeah, I know that. I know that well. And so he was my pattern of who I patterned everybody after. You know, you have that first love, that deep love, that hard love, and everybody else better walk that line and measure up and measure above, right? Above and beyond. And so every relationship that I had in between our on and off time period had to measure up. And of course, they could never measure up, you know, because they were measuring up against a ghost as far as they were concerned, right? And so I finally became engaged to him on or about maybe 2005-ish, 2006. And we were engaged for about almost a year, but the breakup was horrible. And what the breakup taught me was that I was not going to have wings to fly and be my own person and be supported. Um, that hurt and brushed up against and rubbed up against his ego too much. And that was not going to happen. The gentleman that I was engaged to prior to him, same thing. It's like being attracted to light, but you keep knocking out the light bulb. And so if I'm the light, then they kept trying to knock out my light bulb. And so I wouldn't shine. But they wanted me to shine in certain places. So I became eye candy at the galas, at the events, at the, at the ministers' dinners and all the things, right? I was with the perfect first lady, all the things, right? So I tried to play the role, but you do know that you can only play a role so long. That's why actors and actresses play roles, what, for a short time, and then they move on to what, a different role, right? And so when you cannot be genuinely yourself, it starts to hurt and eat at you, right? The architect, we were engaged, and he had told me some things or said some things to me that were very hurtful, but I brushed them off. And then it just came a time where I realized, you want me to please your mom. Like, do you want me for me, or you want me to be with you to please your mom? Like, what is this? And so those three full-fledged engagements, and when I say engagements, only two of them I had rings, and that's including the gentleman I'm married to now, Big G. But the other two were my word. We were looking for rings, right? And so for me, integrity matters. If I give you my word and this is my intention, I'm full-fledged ahead. So those were the three prior relationships. And then when I met Big G, I was broken. I wasn't even healing, Latoya. Good for you. You was in the healing phase. I was angry. I didn't like him. I told him I didn't like him. I told him he smiled too much, and he got on my last nerve from smiling. Like, what you so happy about? Ain't nothing to be happy about. And then I went and I bought, I think I put it in the book about my four carat diamond bracelet. One for the Father, one for the Son, one for the Holy Spirit, and I'm number 4. And we was gonna live life happily in this here earth. Just us. I called us the faux quad. That's who we was. And I went and bought it after I gave back the I guess it was 2 carat or whatever diamond ring. Beautiful ring. I love my ring. And I gave that ring back, and I went to Zales and bought my diamond bracelet. And I said, never again. And I had decided January of 2008, I was not going to get married. I was going to live a single life. I was going to live a good life as a single girl in this big old world. We was going to do it how we wanted to do it. And it was going to be grand. Me and the folk choir, we was going to be grand. And God had some different intentions. And I will tell you this, at least 10 of the things on my no list, Big G is. At least 10. And I wish I had kept that list, but when I decided it was just a full quad, I tore it up and threw it away. But I remember distinctively what was on my list. And I will tell you, he has about 10 of them no on the no side. On the no side. Bald, gun enthusiast, law enforcement, a minister. I could just run it down. And I was like, you've got to be kidding, God. You've got jokes. You've got big jokes. And when I tell you, he walked while I healed. He walked alongside me while I healed. I was in therapy. I healed. And when I was whole, that's when he asked me. It was within a year. It took a year or so. And he said, well, when you're ready, I would like us to date. And so his version of the story is we was already dating. I just didn't know it. And I'm like, I wasn't dating you. I wasn't dating you. But yeah. And he proposed a year later after that on his birthday. So I wasn't expecting it. And I can't say that we really sincerely talked about it. Yeah. Did that answer what you wanted, Tanisha?
Yeah. Yes, I just wanted the people to know that there was a before. Okay.
The ones before.
Anybody? There was a before life. I
Yeah.
wanted people to ask questions. Whoever had a question can go.
Mhm. Feel free to ask, even if you haven't read the book. It's all good.
Okay, they may not be ready, so I can keep going. You already know. You got a question? Just
I think
you ready for Yolanda?
Yolanda.
Just
Yeah.
have one question.
Go ahead.
But when you said that when you wrote the book, it was into to stop people from doing whatever. But the book also helped people, even if they did the things and they've already did it, it also helped them cope. Because sometimes we don't have coping mechanisms. Like
Mhm.
even when I read in the beginning of the book and you were saying that, and you referenced about Saul and they were mourning Saul. And
Yeah.
some
Oh my
people, when
God.
I looked at that and I think about it too, some people thought Saul was a great leader. Like, oh, I don't want anything other than Saul. But they
Yeah.
mourned him, and as you referenced, and sometimes that's like a true reference in our lives. We mourn something that's so bad for us, and we
Hmm.
realize it was bad for us. Why are you hurt? But I just love that reference, just to say. But also, it just helps with coping mechanisms, with different things,
Hmm.
wherever you are with your life, when you read people's stories. For me.
Yeah. No, I mean, that is one of the distinct times that I clearly heard God.
Mm-hmm.
Distinct, crying on my prayer pillow,
Mm-hmm.
distinctly. And I read that scripture. I read it in specifically in reference to dance,
Mm-hmm.
because I teach worship dance. Minister. I'm a minister of movement. So I've read that, but I've paid it no reference to me and what I was going through. I'm like, how does that apply?
Mm-hmm.
And Saul was a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was fine, as they say. He was tall and
Mm-hmm.
fine. And he was old statuette.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's what I thought I wanted, right? Um, but it doesn't, and I will say this, the person that was Saul for me in that particular moment in time, it doesn't mean that he is a bad person. He was not good for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely wasn't healthy for him. Because when I say I would trigger all the pride and all the machismo and all the things, I would trigger him. That's not healthy. You shouldn't be triggering him and he shouldn't be triggering you. You should be a place of solace and a place of peace.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's not in the relationship, need to take a deeper dive and a deeper look,
Right.
because that is who we should be for each other. There's nothing like living in a tumultuous household and there's no peace.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you go, especially in this crazy world? I know all of us done seen the news and the things that are going on in this world. You got to have some place where you can woosah and just be at peace with your Haagen-Dazs. Yep, I got a pint in the in the fridge because I had a rough day on Friday, and I even posted. I said, judge your mama, because this is what we eating. I had some soul food and my Haagen-Dazs because it was a rough day on Friday. But you need a place where that can be, and nobody judging you.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody judging you. And so, yeah, sis, you're right. You think that Saul is great. He's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. He has all the things. Why isn't he good enough for me? What's wrong with that, God? Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. I still tear up every time I think about that moment because
Mhm.
I can visually see me and I know where I was, where I'm not now, but where I was. So thank you for that, Yolanda.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Anybody else?
I do. I had a question when you talked about before you got married, you had to think about the with your confident, you think about the cost of the merger and how it you would think about how it looked with your individuality and how it's going to play with your family and with you being with your friends and how did that merger with your now husband, how did that impact you as an individual?
Yeah, so I was already established in my legal career. I wasn't beginning. Again, we were both 40 when we got married. So he was established as law enforcement, bless his soul. He's retired now. Thank you, Jesus. And yeah, we were established. He had a house. I had, for the third engagement, I had already sold my condo and I moved back with my mom because I was going to move into the third fiance's house. So I was making preparations, I thought for him, but actually I was making preparations for Big G. And that's the house that we live in, is the house that he grew up in. And we've renovated it piece by piece, not taking out a loan, doing everything out of pocket because we didn't want that debt. So my individuality meant that, do I change my name? Do I hyphenate my name? You know, what does that look like for me? Um, what do I need to do to make this actually work for us? You know, he's at one church, I'm at a different church. At that time, I was in training to be a licensed minister. So I stayed at my church, but then I did double duty on Sunday. I sang, you know, on the praise team, did my ministerial duties, and this started my day on Sunday started at like 6:30 in the morning and didn't end sometimes till 5, 6, 7 at night, depending on if they had a afternoon service and all that. So I'm over there. He's preaching. I'm sitting in the pew, as they say, supporting my husband. I'm reviewing his sermons. You know, that individuality somewhat got kicked to the curb, I would say, because at a certain point, you do become one. You have to mesh and become one at a certain extent. Doesn't mean you totally lose yourself in him and all that he is, and vice versa. But at the same time, it's a balancing act. It's a balancing act. Have I been so great at it? No. Has he pulled my coattail? Be like, babe, you gone again? I mean, like, really? What else you doing? What else? What else? What else? Um, but at the same time, who I am today is the same person he met, the same person he fell in love with. So none of the things that about me are necessarily different, other than maybe some additive things, like some additive degrees and boards and stuff. But at the same time, I have to remember that I am responsible for somebody else. So in the Bible, it talks about husbands and wives for a little snippets in time, right? A couple of scriptures, but what it really talks about is your brother and your sister and how you treat your neighbor. And when you become married, he does not stop being my brother. I don't stop being his sister. That means, and he doesn't stop. He really my neighbor. He my neighbor in the bed next to me. He a real close neighbor. So those mandates and responsibilities that we have to each other still remain. And I think sometimes as married couples, we can forget that. And when we forget that, that's when I'm every woman kind of creeps up. I'm every man kind of creeps up, and I'm going to do my own thing and I'm going to do it my way. And that's not marriage. That's individuality and singlehood. So at certain times, you have to pull your own coattail, and hopefully you can receive it from your husband. And hopefully the husband can receive it from his wife to pull the coattail. But the individuality is necessary because that's who you are at your core. And he should be able to elevate that. He should be able to encourage that, not squelch it and knock out your light bulb and think that you're only supposed to come out, without covering. Like that's not my ideal, and that's not how we live our lives. And so, everybody is different, and to each his own. But my individuality is not minuscule, it walks alongside.
Anyone else have any questions?
Hi, I do.
Hi.
Nice to see you, ladies. I just wanted to know from Kina, and thank you. You answered part of the question I had. I was going to ask about how old you were. Well, I guess I still need to ask how old you were because I have not had the opportunity to read the book, but I was definitely wanting to come on and just hear what you had to say about it. Talk
Yeah.
to someone Elsa, who has been engaged a number of times and never actually made the jump because I saw the signs
Yeah.
before getting there. Um,
Amen.
but but what do you have to say to young women right
Hmm.
now who are, because we're in a real precarious time. It's like there is, the way people are looking at marriage right now is
Hmm.
completely outside of what we were all raised to feel about it. And, they were talking about, I've read the statistics about how the marriage rate has gone down and all of
Hmm.
that. What do you have to say, or what advice could you give women in their 20s and 30s right now who uh, want to be married or have given
Hmm.
up on marriage because of very tumultuous relationships or heartbreak and stuff like that they've had, and now
Hmm.
they're just jaded by it.
Yeah. Well, I will say thank you for your question. First of all, thank you so much. I will be 56 in a couple of months. Um, when we got married, I was 40. I would say I started writing the book as a therapeutic way of what I call vomiting on the page. I would just bleh and just put it all on the page. And then I started giving structure because I'm a little bit anal and a little bit perfectionist, so to speak. And so I needed to not just bleh on the page. I needed to give the meat a skeleton to work with. And so that was the beginnings of the book. And so my advice to anybody, whether you're intending and desiring a long-term relationship, long-term friendships, and long-term not long-term engagements, but definitely fruitful marriages, is take the mirror. Take the mirror and do the hard work. Because if you look at your own pattern, if you start writing down all the suitors, and if there are similarities, why is this type of person attracted to me? And it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you, but there has to be some analysis, if you will, of why this specific type of person is attracted to me. And I'll use me as an example. The three suitors pre Big G are pretty much the opposite of Big G. Um, I would say all three were driven individuals in their particular careers. They were extremely ambitious, more ambitious than Big G is, meaning world like. But one of the things that commonality that I saw in all of them, they thought they could mold me into who they wanted me to be because they saw the soft side. And so, in molding me to who they wanted me to be, it would make them feel better and greater and higher. Am I making sense? So I was to elevate them. So everything I was, all the degrees, all the, all the cosmetic, we'll call them cosmetic things, your degrees, the work you do, how you present yourself to the world, those are all grand and great. And that elevated their stock, if you will. But trying to control that is a whole nother thing. And so that was one of the streamlined things. And so I had to deal with that. Is it my abandonment issues with my own father? Is it my abandonment issues or lack of self-esteem because of that experience or because of other experiences? I just needed to do the work. And so that is one of the things that I think right now, is it Taiwana? Is that I'm pronouncing it
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Taiwana?
Mm-hmm.
That I think nowadays we don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
We want somebody else to do the work, and they just gonna like me the way I is. And the way I is the way I am, and you just need to get over it. Why does anybody have to get over some trauma that you putting out? Or your attitude, bad attitude? Because I had a bad attitude too. I had all the things. Because again, I'm every woman. I got degrees, I got career, I got da 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 da, neck roll and all. And all of that is grand. But when you're trying to have a relationship, a long, steady relationship that is fruitful for the both of you all, there has to be some mirror work that is done. And that internal work people don't want to do. So, my advice, do the work for yourself. Because I knew how to love me, and I could teach Big G how to love me by the way I loved myself. Just like how you don't love yourself, you teach people how not to love you too, and what
Oh
you
yeah.
will tolerate.
Oh yeah. You teach people how to treat you, right?
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
And I was allowing a whole lot of stuff. It's a whole lot of things I didn't put in the book, but I was allowing a whole lot of stuff that I had to make up in my mind. If I am single for the rest of my life, remember the folk quad, I had diamonds, honey. I bought my own diamond ring. You follow? My mama bought my first one. I bought my second one. Okay. So I'm not waiting on you to buy me a diamond ring. That ain't the prize. But at the same time, I needed to do the work inside Kina. And that was painful work because I allowed a whole lot of things. And because I allowed them in fiance number 3, because of what I wanted, like Latoya was talking about, because of what I wanted and how much I had invested, I was stepmom in my mind. Yeah, you can't blame somebody else for what you allow. And I'm not talking about extremely abusive situations and physical and emotional abuse. I'm not talking about the extremities of that. I'm just talking about some of that work that we allow and we stay because of a variety of reasons. And if that's your choice, that's your choice. But you can't blame anybody else for your choice. So that's my advice. Most people don't like that part, but that's what I know to be true.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. I appreciate that because, just seeing the young women and speaking to them,
Mm-hmm.
it's it's really important to like you said, self-assess and
Mm-hmm.
work through and mental health. I'm really happy that more and more mental health issues and mental health help is not so taboo in our community anymore.
Yeah,
And more
true.
people are talking about, oh, my therapist told me this or my
Right.
and I am so happy that that is a thing. So um
Mm-hmm.
hopefully there will be a paradigm shift and just relationships period and how
Yeah.
black men and black women deal with each other because, I mean, nothing against anybody else, but that's what our focus is because we know that in order to be strong, to be a strong community, to be a strong people, it takes a strong family. And even,
Mm-hmm.
even through situations where it doesn't work out in a marriage and there's divorce, you don't have to hate each other and be
True.
ugly. It's all about, they're still your family. And this is, like you said, aside from any abuse or violence or,
Hmm.
whatever, if it's just you grew apart or, you're just not the one for, whatever, this is still your child's father or your child's mother. And you should still want the best for your family. And in order to build a strong community, it definitely starts with the family, and
Hmm.
how are we going to reflect healthy relationships? Um, how can we, I should say, expect healthy relationships that we want our children to have if they don't see them, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to be healthy. We don't have children of our own, but we do have 10, I call them godchildren. Some of them are grown, some of them are married. One of them, yeah, has her own child. Um,
But you're still a
so,
mirror. You're still a mirror for them.
yeah,
They still look
yeah,
at, yeah. So it's about the community. It's about the village. So
yes,
when they see healthy, strong, beautiful, relatable, balanced marriages, that's a goal, right? So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And
Thank
that's
you.
one of the things. Yeah, you're welcome. And that's one of the things that I wanted to be for. I have mostly female godchildren, and that's something I'm deaf on is them understanding their individuality and what it is that they want out of life and who it is that they want to present to the world and who it is that they see looking back at them in the mirror and what part they don't like. And if they don't like it, let's choose to do something different. Let's create a different narrative. But not letting the world or anybody else, including me, define who they are and who they shall be. Yeah, so thank you, Taiwana. It's crucial. The village is crucial, and me and Big G need a village. You know, we need tune-ups. That's what they call them in marriage, tune-ups. And so we're about to have a tune-up. Full transparency, absolutely. We're about to be 16, sweet 16. And so we're going to have a tune up very soon, identifying a couple that's going to provide us with that platform or that's, I shouldn't say platform, but that safe space to have real conversations. But we both have a made up mind that we're in this. Now, if he didn't have a made up mind to be in this, I can be in this by myself. That's not a marriage. That's a roommate situation. And that's not what I bargained for. You have to make those choices. But that's not, I'm thankful that we're still in this. We in this to win this and to do life together. So, yeah, it doesn't stop. We need therapy and Jesus, in my opinion.
I wanted you to talk about your father and how was you our
Mm,
relationship, because most people that are married or get married or want to be married, a lot of them see that in their own household or they grew up with
mhm.
a mother and father in a household. So can you please share that with the people about you and your father's relationship?
Yeah, so his nickname was Butch. He was law enforcement, which was why it was on the no list. Um, you laughing, Tanisha. I'm listen, I'm just telling the truth. I definitely didn't know, no, no, and no. He would not go to the bathroom without his gun. That's how deep it was. Okay. Um, but I only had three, that I even interacted with him before he passed away. I believe he had colon cancer, but he had a form of cancer that was terminal. And on his deathbed, I had nothing but compassion for him. A 19-year-old girl, was I 19? I'm sorry. Yeah, I was 19. I was to be 20 that year. So I was 19 at the time of his passing. And I had nothing but compassion. I will tell you, I wasn't spiritually mature to even understand why I felt compassion. What have you done for me lately? There's a whole lot of things I need to tell you about yourself and what you didn't do, and I'm in college and I'm gonna be the best. He's on his deathbed, and all I had was compassion. And the only words I could utter was, I forgive you. I don't know what that did for him because he couldn't really talk a lot. He was very sickly. He was very gaunt. And I can visually see me standing there. And mind you, bless my mama, we got dressed up because we was going to see him in the family. So we was cute and fine. Mama had her fur coat on. Let me tell you, we was fine. Because she wanted the presentation is we did good and I did good. You know, she wanted all of that. You know, single woman, she did this thing. Me, on the other hand, I was just kind of stuck because I didn't really have her to talk to because she's still dealing with the trauma of how I came to be and what he did because I have a half sister. And so maybe she'll see this, but I have a half sister that was born the same year I was born. We are 6 months apart. I was born in June. She was born in December. He had two women pregnant at the same time. So my mama still got some residuals of that. You follow what I'm saying? So I didn't have her to talk to. I had nothing. And all I could say is I forgive you. So my interaction with my father, I picked up certain things. I eat my steak medium well because he ate his. I there's some other little ticky things. My mom says my knuckles on my hand are like his because he had big knuckles. She doesn't. So I got that from him. My redness tone in my skin, I got that from him and his family. So there are bits and pieces that I learned along the way that identify with him and his family. But let me tell you, when he died, his family took me in and brought me to the birthday parties and to all the occasions. It was like that whole thing on Soul Food or any of those movies, right? And it's just gonna be happily ever after. It was not for me because my cousins had all this history with my dad. My dad, I didn't have. He used to throw us up and he used to take us horseback riding and when I say smiling here and crushed at the family gatherings was deep. But I had to do that work because guess what? He's no longer here for me to cuss out. So my relationship with him was a non-relationship. And I would say the closest I ever came to having anything remotely like a father-daughter relationship was on his deathbed when I told him that I forgave him. Other than that, there was none.
The people want to know, I'm sure, how did you and your husband meet?
He just walked in. Um, we met by a mutual friend who eventually stopped being my friend and then eventually stopped being his friend. Yeah.
That was their purpose.
And she had been trying to introduce us for years, but I was engaged to the third suitor. And prior to him coming back together with him, I was engaged to the second suitor. So I was always dating somebody. So she could never introduce me. Stop, Zoe. He could never introduce me. She could never introduce me to him. And so this particular time where I was quote unquote free on the market, so to speak, she introduced us right during my tumultuous healing process from the third suitor. And that's how we met. We met over Harold's Chicken. He brought us some Harold's Chicken. It was a big snow that December. I was at her house and he got up out of his bed, went to the local Harold's and brought us Harold's Chicken. And that's how we met. And he said when he saw me, he was like, oh, she's beautiful, like that. And then because I was so mean and angry, he had to keep going back to God and saying, God, I don't think she the one because she mean, she angry. She I mean, I was a piece of work because I was hurt. And that's where I was living. And nobody gonna tell me, and I ain't doing this and all the things. Because that's what you do. You go into shut down, protective mode, and I'm gonna protect me from all y'all. And it's so weird. Not only did men start trying to date me, and I never said anything. I guess they just saw the ring gone. But even women, like I was like, what is that about? Like it was just a mess. So I was just angry with everybody in the world, and it was just gonna be me and the folk quad. So that's how we met. I think she had a crush on him. I think she loved him more than a brother. And when we got together and it became he and I, and we started seriously dating, she got removed from the three, and that hurt her. Um, she passed away some years ago, and we talked about it. And I was like, you need to go see your friend. You need to go see your friend. But she didn't want to see me. And she took
Wow.
that to her grave. He asked her, I was on the phone, and he called me because I respect people. Where you are, I'm going to respect your boundaries. But I just wanted her to know that that there was no aught between us, right? She took it to her grave. And then she told one of her caretakers some story. I think she told them that I didn't come to see her. I didn't want to come to see her. It was something that was a complete lie. And I'll just call a spade a spade. It was a complete lie. And I think it was just to protect herself. But that saddened me for a little while, but it wasn't because I didn't try. So I don't have a conscious about not trying to heal whatever it was, but you can't heal a relationship if the other person doesn't want to heal. So you have to heal and resolve. That's where they are. You have to respect it. Write your letter out, whatever you need to do, cry, scream, pray, whatever you need to do, eat Haagen Dazs, whatever. And you have to go on with the life that you've been given. But yeah, she didn't want to see me at all. But at least he got to see her twice before she passed. So it's very interesting you would ask that, Tanisha. Yeah.
I know people want to know.
You
I
said
know
people want
people
to
want to
know?
know.
Yeah.
Kina, I don't know how long your book will last.
Oh,
I ask you a really quick question. First, I want to say that your book has inspired me. We've been engaged in some deep conversations with my fiance. So it's a lot of topics, and he's like, "Let me see what she say in this book." So we have been really engaged in talking and discussing with this book. So he's excited. He really we're long distance, so he's in Arkansas. And
okay.
I'm in Chicago, but he's moving up here. He'll be here March 15th. But we've
Oh,
been dating for 5 years because it's his family is all here, but his son is there in Arkansas. So,
okay.
and he's just trying to make sure everything is okay there. But our communication, because we're long distance, is phenomenal. Like we talk about everything. And
Yeah.
what I realized what we hadn't talked about is how we wanted God to present himself in our marriage. And
Mm,
that's what this book is bringing up, this conversation of,
okay.
how do we want we want him to be the center. We both agree, but what does that look like for us in marriage? And so
Hmm.
since he came with his experience, he was married before for 10 years. So he got married
Okay.
at 19 to 29, really young. And then, so he feels like that he has that experience, that he has the communication and everything like they said. He went through that experience. God took him through that so he can be prepared to be a better husband for me because he learned how to be a husband in that experience, like things that he didn't know, like communication, and he would just shut down or, would not just give in. And so he said the communication was a big factor for him. I didn't have that experience of, growing up in a two-parent household. I was able to watch my grandparents and their marriage, but it was more of the, you know, I'm the homemaker and he's the breadwinner. And that was the example that I had. And
Right.
that's not our marriage that we're having. We both bring in, the money, the income. So I'm just thinking about like how did you all discuss that and think about what priorities were important for you and your marriage? Because I know you said communication and making sure you have that time, that date time, because you have so many other things that you're doing.
Right.
And so how did you all come to agreement on what will be a priority?
I think really honestly understanding what's a priority for you right now. So if having just for example, if having your morning prayer time, I'm sorry, I was getting my plug for my phone. Having your prayer time in the morning, your solace in the morning, your quiet time in the morning is vitally crucial to your day and how you command your day or how you go on in your day. He needs to give you that time. And it does not change because you're married. That's still important. So he needs to foster that and support that. So that means, if there's a child, if there's a fur animal, like we have a fur daughter here who's just all in our business, then maybe that's time that he takes care of the dog in the morning so you can have your time. And then when the dog is taken care of, then he has his time. You see what I'm saying? So whatever the priority is for you as an individual right now, continue that. That shouldn't necessarily change. It might fluctuate a little bit, but that shouldn't change for him or for you. So really recognizing what's important for you now, what brings you joy when you think about God or when you think about your walk with God, and what other things in ministry you might want to do or pursue and how to go about it. I remember he wanted to go to school, like for pastoral counseling or something to that nature. And we went a deep dive. We looked at seminaries, we looked at other accredited programs and stuff. And he kind of maneuvered and found a program, literally dropped out of a book to him. And while he was in school, I was like, I'm going to school too. And so we ended like I want some more school, right? And so we ended up going to school together. So there were certain classes we took online that we would eat our dinner together and take online together because we had to have the same class for our individual graduations. We actually graduated together. He graduated with his degree and I graduated with mine. And so you find ways to have commonality, which is important. And then there are times when he's with the boys or he hanging out with his crew and you hanging out with your girls. That's also important. Those things are important. And when you need some me time, that's important. Yeah. So I think just talking that through and being honest of what that looks like.
I just wanted to add with Toya, she didn't tell people, but I'm going to tell people. She has a very special relationship as well with her fiance. They were together years ago and they've gotten back together. God has brought them back together and now to be married to one another. So I think that is so special. I've been hearing a lot about people getting reunited and, people that was together, getting back together. I'm like, that is so amazing. I'm just loving
Right.
how you just never know. They say love finds you, or if you let that person go, it'll find you. I'm like, it's really happening. Oh my God. So she has a really special story. So I'm so happy for her. Anybody else have a question before I go and take another question? And I got a lot. Okay, so during the courtship, you said we must have simple conversations regarding each of our desires towards marriage, right? So people need to know that. you stated you have to have discussions on your spiritual foundation beliefs, biblical
Mhm.
beliefs concerning roles of the husband and wife, number of children you all will
Mhm.
have to have or would like to have,
Mhm.
purchasing property
Mhm.
versus renting, your church membership,
Mhm.
influence of in-laws. So these are really important questions that you all have to have prior to getting married. So people just jump
Yeah.
into marriage and think, oh, I'm so in love, I want to be with this person. And am I frozen?
You
Okay.
were, but you're
Oh,
good
I'm
now.
okay, good. So these are some, I just want you to add to that of some questions and conversations that people need to have during courtship.
Yeah, courtship and dating are two different things. I found that out. Courtship, there is an intention behind you spending time, money, time, and treasure with this individual person. Dating, you just cavalier. Okay. So in courtship, I'm getting to know you. You can talk about marriage without talking about marriage. There are so many things in life that you need to talk about when you talk when you make the intention of meshing your life with someone else, right? I don't like washing dishes. I think it's the grossest thing in the whole wide USA. I figured he should have bought me a dishwasher. You know, that you laughing. I'm telling you the truth. Guess what? Somebody donated to us a dishwasher. I was like, hook it up. Take
I'm
out the cabinet.
laughing because I don't even want to look at a house. You know, I move a lot for my job, but if it doesn't have a dishwasher in it, no. That's a hard no for me.
That's a hard no. Right, right. See, but that's a hard no. So when you messing with somebody else and I'm supposed to move into your house, does your house have a dishwasher? Listen, everybody talking about, what, well, that's a break. That's a no-brainer for me. That's gonna break my relationship. Sometimes it's just the
It wouldn't
dishwasher.
break my relationship, but I would
But
say,
some people they would.
so what I tell my son, he doesn't live with me now. He's grown. He was born in 1994, and I didn't have a dishwasher in my first starter home. And I said, I always tell him all the time, I got a dishwasher. It's in prime condition. I got it in 1994, and it's working perfectly. But if you're gonna wash the dishes, that's fine. But I'm not washing no dishes.
Right. And so I brought that up because he don't like cleaning bathrooms. I can't stand a dirty bathroom. Guess what? He
You clean
washes
it.
dishes. I clean the bathrooms. There are certain things you do not have to argue about. Them socks on the floor, let me tell you, Latoya, they're going to be on the floor. I don't care what you say. They're going to be on the floor. That's just where they are. I could have an attitude, be mad and disgruntled about socks being on the floor, or I can just pick them up and put them in the hamper. What? Like, is that going to be, you know, y'all laughing, but I'm serious.
I love that in the book because that helped me because I do. It's like and I'm really used to having my way.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Comes,
You went on mute. Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. When he comes, it's when he comes to Chicago, it's like he throws his stuff everywhere, and I'm like, this is not this is not it. This is not it. But I get what you're saying. Like everything is not an argument. Choose your battles. And
Choose your battles.
he's an
That just
awesome
ain't
cook,
it.
and he loves to cook. I hate to cook, so choose my battles. I'll pick up your clothes. I'll do that. I'll clean. I'll wash the dishes. I don't want to cook, so it's fine.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Now, with the clothes being everywhere, maybe you need those pretty little baskets, those cute little wicker baskets. Maybe you need to have 4 or 5 of them everywhere.
I have a beautiful walk-in closet, but he's not here, so I took over the whole walk-in closet.
Now you
So
gotta share. Now you're
I
gonna
know
have to figure out, you're gonna have to
I'm
do a
getting
Rehoboth
ready.
sale. That's what I'm doing now. I'm doing a Rehoboth sale. That means God, Rehoboth in Hebrew means God has made room. It's in the Old Testament.
Mhm.
I can't figure out why it was used in the Old Testament, but I learned that word, Rehoboth,
Mhm.
and it means God has made room for me. That's what you need to have a Rehoboth sale.
Yes.
All them things, they got tags and things. You're not gonna pull them out because you gotta make way for the King is coming. Him
Yes.
coming.
I,
And
I
so him
know.
He'll want to be welcomed in
I have a little time,
to
but
the
I am.
closet. I understand. I understand what you're saying because, yeah, I love me some shoes. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, I do. Yes, I do.
Another major conversation you stated that people need to have is the name game. Can you explain that and
Yeah,
how
do
important it
I?
is?
Yeah, hyphenating my name, changing my last name, because Social Security want to know what you're gonna be. And because I have a law license, that means I got to talk to the Illinois Supreme Court because Kina Nichols was licensed to practice law, not Kina Arnold. And it does make a difference. It makes a difference. And so, I had advice like Nichols is Irish, and if you ever run for office or if you ever run for judge, that Irish name would go real far in the Black community because we don't. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna leave that alone. Uh, so they was like, you need to keep, and this was a Caucasian judge telling me this. You should have kept the Nichols. You should have kept it. I didn't keep it. Nichols came from my mom's father, and it is an Irish name with a crest and everything in Ireland. Yes, indeed. But I also think it's stemming from a slave holder name as well, right? I ain't married to that. Um, but when I talked to Big G about it, it was important for him for me to have his name. And so I say that to anybody who's getting married, have the conversation. Now I've met judges who have changed their name. I've met judges who just kept their whole maiden name, as their professional name and their married name, and it always confuses me because this is Mr. Jones, but you Mrs. Johnson, and I'm like, but y'all married? It kind of does a loop-de-loop in my brain. But that's a choice that you all make as a couple, but that's something that has to be talked about. I've also known couples to actually fight about it because she didn't take his name. And it was offensive to him, but he buried it. And in burying it and not talking about it, not articulating it, it became what you call a scar in the relationship that's just an open wound. So there was lots of times that it got pricked. It got pricked because you never talked about it. So I did ask her. And so I was like, okay. And then I thought about taking my father's last name. I thought about taking that one. But I was like, I've never had his name. I've never been identified. So why would I do it now? I'm 40 years old. Is it going to make or break me? So I kept my middle name and I took on Big G's last name. And then I would also suggest is you look up the names, find out what they mean. And when I found out that Arnold means powerful eagle, I was sold. I was like, yeah, I want to be a powerful eagle. So that's the name I want. So the name game is important, and I think it's underestimated because it can be a damaging issue in your marriage, in your relationship, of how he relates to you and how he relates to the world around you when he's coming into your world, especially if you're in a professional world like a legal career, medical career, some media, something that's really substantial. It makes a difference. So please consult with him and see what his thoughts are. And if he doesn't care, okay,
The sky's the limit.
change all your names.
Anybody else have any questions?
I didn't have any questions, but my fiance was very vocal that he wanted me to take his name. And I agree because my last name is Woods. And if it was my grandfather who raised me and it had carried weight, then I would consider, hyphenating it. But I don't have any attachment to the Woods. Even my family that I'm close with on my dad's side, they don't carry the Woods name. So it did not really have any weight for me. So I was okay with that. And he's like, I requested from his first marriage. He in their divorce, he asked for his name back. So he was like, it's very important. My name means it means a lot for me to me. And so he
Yeah.
was like, I want you to have this name. So our hashtag is finally a Edmondson because we were back we were together in the beginning and now we're back. So it's final
Yeah.
kid Edmondson.
Okay. Cool. Cool. That's
Uh,
important. First, go ahead.
Next question. The engagement, you talked about that.
hmm
Your husband was living a life of celibacy for 9 years. How did that make you feel?
That was great. I had more questions than anybody. Like, you a black man? And it was funny when he became when some of his coworkers at the time found out that he was engaged. It was like a huge big deal because he doesn't carry the demeanor to be a woman chaser. And a lot of the other law enforcement entities, that's kind of, it was like a whole soap opera thing, you know what I mean? And so, he always was like big bro to a lot of the women, and partners and all that. And he never did the chasing. So when he got engaged, they were like, really? Because for some of them, they thought he was already married because he was so quiet and not chasing women, and they didn't see him dating a whole bunch of women. And so the engagement period, for us, was really smooth sailing in the sense that, we were really, really working hard to get to know each other. And I was still working hard on me in the mirror as well. I was still working hard on that. I would not let that go because if I'm going to walk this path, a path I have no idea about. Remember, I was raised by a single woman, and all the women in my life were single. They were single parents. I only had one aunt that was married, and she was married to her husband, and they lived in Las Vegas. So I didn't have even them to look to and how that worked. So I didn't have a clue. So if it was gonna be the five of us, four quad plus one, um, I really needed to know that this was the path that God wanted me to take, and things just fell into place. I won't say they weren't, some, not struggles, but some ticky times. I call them ticky, some hard conversations, some hard realities, but at the same time, it's all for your good at the end of that.
You had your wedding day all planned out. Unfortunately, plan A didn't work. So you had to go to plan B. Tell the people what happened.
So, I had three fabric banners made by hand. One said Jesus on it, one said Holy Spirit on it, and the other one said Yahweh for God. That was our backdrop, minister in the middle, and we were going to get married in those banners out under the veranda. It was going to be beautiful. The deer were in the forest preserve. I was going to have all of that, Alice in Wonderland, all the things, right? And when I tell you, it was so sunny, it was cool, but it was so sunny on the 17th, September 17th, 2010. It was sunny, but it was beautiful. When I say, when the shofar blew, I had a shofar, and that's a ram's horn if you're not familiar, and they use it in Israel to make the announcement or the declaration of God coming in the room, or a declaration of war or whatever. But that was the declaration to the earth that this new couple was emerging, right? When she blew the full shofar, when I say it poured, OMG. And nobody told me that it was raining outside. I didn't know that they went to plan B until plan B was already in motion. Plan B was to move everything on the inside, banners. I still had my backdrop. They had to create a new walkway for me, to walk down the aisle. And whoo, some of my tears coming down the aisle was that. And they weren't happy tears. All the preparation, because we planned our wedding together. It wasn't just me and my mama. No, no, no. Me and Big G paid for this wedding out of our own pockets. We didn't have family to pay for our wedding. His parents were deceased. I only have a single mom. My dad is deceased. It's just me and him and our paychecks, right? So we're paying for this. So we planned the entire thing from the rooter to the tutor. the entire thing. And to have those plans change up like that, it's crushing. It's crushing. That's all I can say was crushing. But you look at your fiance down the aisle and you say, if this is bad, oh my gosh, this is about to be an amazing time. Because that's not the worst of it. It's fabric. Nobody got wet, nobody got harmed, nobody was shot, killed, maimed, or hurt or anything. Okay. Then my tears changed to happy tears. But it was crushing initially. My feelings was real broke. Mm-hmm.
So you already explained to us about the fact that your husband was not the man that you would have selected. So we kind of talked about that already. Um, One of the biggest questions when you get married is when y'all gonna get pregnant.
Ooh, child.
Like you said, I'm sure it became overwhelming at times.
Mm-hmm.
Your best friend died, Lakita Garrett,
Mm-hmm.
suddenly,
What you knew?
and you,
Yeah.
yes, rest in peace. You think the level of grief you felt during that time may have done harm to your body. Please explain
Mm-hmm.
that.
Because I repressed a lot of it. My best friend was Lakita Garrett. We've been best friends since she was 12 and I was 14. We went through high school together. We went through college together. She was a Hampton Queen. She was Miss Hampton for our class. She went to graduate school. I went to law school. I went to graduate school and law school. Then she settled down in her practice as a speech pathologist. Stroke pathology was her specialty. Um, and we've been there through all the things. So at no time was she not supposed to be here. She was my maid of honor at my wedding, and she also was she was greatly a part of the decor planner for my wedding because I knew she would do it right and she would have my heart while she was doing it. So at no time was I expecting her to be not be here for some of the ticky fights and things of marriage. And then I was supposed to, since I got married first, I was supposed to have a baby and name her Lakita. This was the plan. This was the plan. If she had a baby first and it was a girl, then either the girl was gonna have Kina in her name, she's gonna have some form of it, Kina, or she was gonna have my middle name, Nicole. Something about that was gonna be me, right? And vice versa. But I couldn't do it. My body would not produce. What do you do with that? You don't have your best friend and you can't even live out the promise. Like, really? And actually, Tanisha, to that point, it'll be 10 years this coming March that she's been gone. That's crazy because for me, it feels like it happened yesterday.
Mhm.
And I still can't talk to her about things. She still is the first thought in my mind, other than telling Big G about something that happened great or somebody who made me mad. I still want to dial her number, and I'll be mad if somebody answers that phone and it ain't her voice. So I still have her number in my phone. I'm not gonna get rid of it. I ain't gonna call it because that'll make me mad. But yeah, so I think I repressed it and so much so that it became the ideal, and that should not have been the ideal. You don't have children to fulfill um, things in you. That shouldn't be, that's part of the purpose of having children, but that shouldn't be the sole priority when you choose to have a child, if you understand what I'm saying. So I had to go back to the mirror and deal with that. And I didn't realize that until I started writing.
That's a really I just want to stay there for a minute because that is so, so important and women need to talk about this because we all have that dream of okay, I'm getting married, we're gonna have kids and blah blah blah, the whole thing. Um, the American dream, right? So
Right.
how has not being able to have children, how has that affected you as a wife?
I still have moments. I have moments where I can send the gift and not go. I have to self-protect. It's not fun sometimes for me. And then I have moments where I have to be around. I have two of my godchildren are here. They're 9 and 11. Jesus, one of them about to be in high school. I'm not ready. Um, and Facebook don't let you live a good life. You know, Facebook bring up the christening picture. Where are they now? Type of thing. And I'm like, can you not do that? It's almost like AI is reading your mind, like, let me torture you some more. Bam. I'm like, she's about to go to high school. But I go and hang out with them, and they bring me such life. They're so life giving. And actually, to have your godchildren say, we don't want you to have none, like, are y'all cursing my womb? Like, how does that work exactly? Because they know another child will take the money. It's all about the money. It's all, it's all about they ain't gonna get no trips. They ain't gonna get no special gifts. They don't get the shopping spree. They don't get. I'm like, it's all about y'all. Like, ew. So I had to have that conversation. Like, don't curse my womb. If God want me to be a Sarai, and y'all know she was 90 plus when she gave birth in the Bible, if God want me to be a Sarai, I'm gonna need y'all to be on board and be babysitters. So anywho, it has moments, not Tanisha, it has moments, and
Yes,
it's
great.
not right. It's not as extreme as when I was going through in vitro, doing the shots. He had to give me shots. I had to go to the doctor every week, have blood drawn and all of that. And I'm thinking I'm in the room with all these ladies who are pregnant, not realizing some of these women are surrogates. Some of these women have borrowed eggs or bought eggs to be implanted in them. And some of them are pregnant to give up their child to adoption, all the things. But I'm rubbing shoulders. You know how they say, if you get $1 million, you're like, come and rub my hand. Rub some of that on me. That's what I thought. I'm in the room. But it has its moments in time. I'm making light of it, but it does have its moments in time where I do still cry out to the Lord and say, what was wrong with my womb? What did I do? And then I'm sure you read that area where I was reading a book and it said sometimes you're sacrificing the very thing that you're fully capable of doing. But the sacrifice of your yes means you can't have that. And so I've consulted with the Father, like, was that part of my yes? Because the work that I do, I am an advocate for abuse and neglected children. I've been doing it for 29 years. My specialty is one of the things I deal with is sex and human trafficking. I deal with abused babies. I deal with their deceased brothers and sisters at the hand of their caretakers. And when I say I love on my kids, all of them, thousands of them, I love on my kids. I actually stood up in the wedding for one of them. That's the type of relationships I have with my clients. And some hate me to the day, but they know I'm going to give them the truth, so they'll call me later. But was all that nurturance that I have inside for me to give to somebody else, is that my purpose? Versus I have a womb, I have ovaries, I have the equipment to give birth. But maybe my equipment is to be used for someone else's child. And it doesn't make me less of a woman because I don't have one from my womb. But it still hurts. I ain't gonna say it doesn't hurt, because that's a gift that a woman gives to her husband like none other. A watch or a new bottle of cologne, that ain't the same as giving him his seed back to him, right? And so, I have my moments. They're just intermittent, and it's it's random triggers. I can't even tell you what the triggers are. It's just random. It's just random. And I could be sad about something else. You know how you're sad about one thing, and then you think about other things, and then you think about other things, and then all the things make you sad. So sometimes it's like that too. Sometimes it's like that too. But
You's
I
crazy.
don't stay. Huh? What you
You was
say?
crazy, girl. You was
But
hilarious. Just know that.
okay. But but at the same time, I don't stay there. I'm eternally grateful for the kids that I've been able to nurture to health and to wholeness and to see them flourish with what God has given me inside. And I pour it on them, even when they don't want it. So that's kind of how I
Anybody
deal with
else?
that now.
Anybody else questions? I got two more and then that'll be it. Anybody else?
I don't have a
Jazz? Oh, go ahead, Yolanda.
a question. I was just noticed. Well, when she mentioned that her rings was clipped, but then she said, "Oh, I changed my name to Arnold," and you was like, "There go my wings." You know, an eagle has a massive wingspan. So even though you was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, my wings is clipped," I'm not meant to slay you. Your name pretty much is saying, "No, you're meant to save." So like how you were saying with the children or whatever, and you help those out, because a lot of times people, we forget things that we don't see, or people that are not hurt, and there's a lot of people that are hurting. Like when people be like, "Oh, I have a shelter for this and that," until they mention it to you, you don't think about it. So even though we see
Right.
those stories, sometimes you don't think about all those things. So essentially, your last name Arnold, you're still flying over, saving all those things, even though you're just like, "Oh, why not me?" And that to me, you know, how you
Mm.
read all different things, because I love all the books that we read in this club or whatever, because it's like it takes me down a deep hole, a rabbit hole. So like how you reference the Bible, I'll be like, okay, well, let me get this so I can get a full story of what this happened in the Bible and how this happened. But that's just
Mhm.
me. I love going
Right,
down the rabbit
right.
hole. But when you mentioned that and your name was Arnold, it automatically clicked onto me. Well, it means to fly and soar. You know, an eagle has a massive
Mhm.
wingspan. You know, it's more
Mhm.
than what most people know. So in your name itself, it's like saying that you're flying and soaring, and that just what that brought that to me. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. And I love my last name. I love my last name. I love what it speaks for us as a couple. I love what it speaks for him in his business ventures and in dreams and aspirations that he has. And I'm 150% down with supporting that. And he does the same for me. Um, but it's also in reading up on eagles, they go through a horrible period of time where their beaks fall off and their wings, they lose their wings and the feathers on their wings, and they go high in a mountain and they go through this isolated, horrible experience only to almost like rejuvenate and come back, and their eyesight and their sense of clarity. So I'm always asking God, I need that sense of clarity. I need to see it before I see it, you know? And he don't let me see it before I see it. You're like, if I let you see it before you see it, you're gonna run to it and forget about the process, right? And it's all about process. We got to be processed. So yeah, I love that. Thank you for that. And I be hugging on my babies. I hug on all my babies. They something. Hmm I have about 100 now, right now that I represent, that I'm assigned to, I should say. Yeah.
Jasmine, you have a question? I haven't heard from you today.
No questions.
Okay. All righty. Toya, did you have another question? No? Okay. My next question is, what is the most important thing you want people to take away with them after reading your book?
Um, I want them to understand that it's written from my perspective and my journey and how I got from A to B, B to C, and so on and so on. It's not to influence anybody's relationship with God or to bring them to greater knowledge of Him. I just want you to understand, and anyone reading it to understand, that we all have a process. And the longer you avoid your process, the longer you're going to stay stuck. And that's one of the huge things that my mother, as a single woman, a single parent, taught me at a very young age. You don't stay stuck. You don't stay stuck, because you will be a part of the woulda, coulda, shoulda committees that are always on every street corner in the hood, especially in our neighborhood. And I could have been, I would have been, had I, Or did I? Or if the man didn't do this, that, and the other, and all of those famous excuses, right? You will stay stuck. And I implore and encourage any woman, don't stay stuck. There's so much, and there's someone waiting on your testimony. They're waiting on you to not glide through your process, but work through your process so that they don't have to. Because as soon as you tell them your process, they're going to be able to avoid some things that they don't have to go through because you already did that work. And you can tell them, hey, go down this road instead. And that's with anything, from the simplest to the most complex. I also want people to be encouraged that God is not spooky. God is not spooky. Quite simple. We make him spooky and make him unattainable. But my walk with the Father has given me grounding and stability. And even though, I still go through hardships and hard times, that's my solace. And that's where I resonate. And so I would encourage all women, and I've had some men grab the book and read it too. So it hasn't just been women reading my book, but do the work. Don't expect somebody outside of you to do the work that you must do, not for them and not to gain their favor, but so that you can live in peace. And so that is really a major thing that I implore, especially women to do, but just people everywhere. It's too much tumultuous things going on for you not to have peace.
So you took your mic off. Did you have something you want to share before we go? No?
I didn't remember it, but I was just going to Yolanda's thing about how she said she had to read the book and have her Bible right there to unpack and go down that rabbit hole. So I too had to do that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can read a scripture
hmm
20 times, just like I understood why are you mourning for Saul 20 different ways. Never thought it would apply to me. But in particular seasons in your life, it's going to read differently. It's going to hit differently. And I also encourage you all to look at the Greek and the Hebrew, because that'll open your mind too to what meaning is in those scriptures as well. So I encourage you to do that as well.
I just want you to know that I've recommended this book to my sister and another one of my dear friends who are getting frustrated in this waiting period. And I'm telling them, like, you have to go through this walk with God. And you're waiting, what am I doing wrong? But I told them, I said, this book has the answer. So I thank you for being obedient to God, because you're saying that this walk, this is your walk, but it's sharing it and it's helping other people to understand and know, like, okay, it's confirmation for me. Like, yes, I've been through here, and it helps other people heal and go through that journey as well. So thank you.
Yeah. Waiting sucks, but that don't mean you just sit there and wait. Even what is it? Even Ruth was working. She was taking care of business because she had to take care of Naomi and her. They had to eat. What? So, learn who you are. Learn what you like. Learn what you don't like. Was that Runaway Bride? I think did I reference her in the book, Runaway Bride, when she didn't know her fiance asked her what kind of eggs she liked, and she couldn't tell him. So then part of the last scenes in there is her cooking up a bunch of different kind of eggs, scrambled, sunny side, and she cooked up like 4 or 5 different ways. And she figured out, I think she liked Benedict or something or whatever. And then she could go back to him and say, I know what eggs I like. But it wasn't about the eggs. She had no clue of who she was. And it's something as simple as what kind of eggs you like, and you can't tell him. That's a sad, sad place of existence. You got to know you for you. And you got to love. I think, Tanisha, you said you've got to love. You teach people how to love. Did you say that, or somebody else said you teach people how to love you? Toya did. You teach people how to love you.
Tawana did.
Tawana, yeah. Teach people how to love you by how you love on yourself. And it's not always buying gifts. Don't break the bank. Don't go into debt. Sometimes my happy stick, you all, is a blow pop. I have bags of them. I have them everywhere. They're in my car, they're in my purse, they're in the cabinet, they're in the they're in the drawer in my office. And when people are having a rough day, they will tell you, Kina gonna give you a blow pop. Because I just think a blow pop, it takes you back to your childhood, Tanisha. You know, back when we was in the soul children and we had to have candy. Penny candy will make you happy. I'm telling y'all, you got to go to the simple things. It's the simple things. And that's my happy stick. It ain't no blunt. It ain't no glass of wine. Listen, I have to tell my clients this. You got to find something else. It can't be found in another person. So mine is a blow pot. It don't give you much weight, just a little sugar. These
Girl.
should keep laughing at me.
Let me
But
get
I'm
you
so
off of
serious
here.
about the blower. I'm so serious about the blow pops though. If y'all ever
I know.
meet
I
me in
think you
person,
offered me one day. I think you did offer me one of them things. I'm like, girl, no, I want no blow pop. But I think you did get a bag
listen,
full of them. I'm like, nah, like, girl,
listen.
oh, you is too much. So we are going to end this session today. Thank you, Kina, for coming on. She has always been a
Thank
sweet
you.
person ever since I've known her. She have not changed. She's been the same way since I have known her since I was a kid. Okay.
I
So can
just
you
want to say
please
one thing.
oh, go ahead, Yolanda.
Thank you for how you beautifully wrapped my book and the beautiful bookmark that came with it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I had to get a little girly.
I see.
I'm still a girly girl. Started out as a tomboy, but I became a girly girl. So I'm a girly girl. You're welcome. And thank you,
Uh,
Tawana. Thank
uh,
you.
Thank you.
I want you to I want you to tell people where they can find you on social media. And also, will you be writing another book later on, or do you have something planned, or are you working on anything?
On social media, on Facebook, I'm Dr. Kina, so Dr. Capital Kina Arnold, space and Arnold. I think on Instagram, I'm Kina Arnold. And yeah, I think on those two spaces, you can contact me there. My website is kinaarnold.com because my last name ends with an A and I'm sorry, begins with an A and my first name ends with an A. I only use one A. Okay, so it's Kina Arnold with one A.com. So you can contact me via there as well. You can always inbox me for all things. Am I working on anything? Big G and I put out a book this past year. On one side, it's a flip book. On one side, it says how she loves him suited. And then on the other side is how he loves her healed. And healed is a play on words because mama like her stilettos. Mm-hmm. But when you're reading the book, you read his side. He did his own foreword, and these are anecdotal things. As a married couple, you love on each other more with your clothes on than you will ever horizontally in a bed. And so if you don't pour into each other with your clothes on, the bedroom time is going to be mechanical and it's not going to be fulfilling. I'll put it that way. In the greatest degree, I'll put it that way. So so they're anecdotes of how we love on um, each other with our clothes on, essentially. And so then you go to the back and you have to flip it to see my side. So depending on which side you began. And then we meet in the middle with a picture. Um, so that's what we just put out. Right now, I'm not feeling the scribe spirit. That's what I call it. It's a scribe spirit. Because when God gives me a scribe spirit, it's full throttle and I'm writing. And everything else is waiting, but I'm writing. So nothing right now. I do have a new community of ladies. It's called Fruitful Barren Women. And it's a play on words as well, fruitful, and we use double L's for fruitful. because as a barren woman, that's the medical term for my condition, right? That I have not given birth naturally, does not mean that I'm not fruitful, and does not mean that to be fruitful and multiply automatically meant producing a seed in the form of a human being. Seeds are my books. Seeds are my godchildren. Seeds of how I love on someone else's children that I'm assigned to for the next 17 months before I retire from this great work. But we have entrepreneurial seeds. We have all kinds of seeds. And so we have a community of ladies. It's about roughly about 9 of us, I think. And we are setting goals. Vision boards are set. Vision books are set. And we're going to each achieve one of our goals before the end of the year, if not more. And so it's a community of encouragement. So you all can inbox me. All are welcome, whether you have children or not. That's not the issue. It's what I talked about before, not being stuck and not being so super focused on one aspect of your humanity, so much so that you forget everything else that you are and everything that he desired you to be. So it's a purpose-driven life. And so that's what we're doing. So right now, no writing, pursuing that and having community. I am doing a workshop October 10th, and there'll be more information about that. I'll make sure, Tanisha, you get that information. It'll be October 10th, and it's called Fix Your Crown. So me and one of my ministerial sis, we are joining forces, and we have enough classes and thoughts for the next 5 years. So I think we might do a fall and a spring at this point. And yeah, community of women becoming unstuck, dealing with our mirrors, and let's go. Let's do this. We got one life to live, so let's do it
I just wanted
in a
to
big way.
I I just wanted to add, let them know that if you all have questions to ask Tina, please inbox her. She is very responding. She's right here in Chicago on the South
Yeah.
Side, so it's not like she's in a night or just somewhere
Hmm.
in another country. She's right here, and she's
Hmm.
always open and willing to answer any questions that you all may
Hmm.
have. So please, please connect with her on any
Yeah.
topic or whatever you want to talk about. She's a very open person.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes, even if it's legal or whatever, if you need help, just let me know. I probably can't help you in the most legal way, but maybe I can connect you, you know. That's what community does. That's what
Yes,
networking does, is connecting
yes,
you to resources that you
yes,
may not know exist. And I'm really big on that because our community has suffered because there have been gatekeepers who would not do that for us. And so I'm
yes,
big on busting that wide open. Like, I can't stand it. I can't
yep,
stand gatekeepers. Like, come on, y'all. We in
yes,
2026. Let's get over
yes,
that. Hmm.
yes.
So,
All right.
Tanisha, you're free to give out my number. You don't have to call and ask. Any of the ladies want to talk? I'm available. I'll make myself available.
Yes. All right. Well, that will end our discussion for today. Thank you, ladies, for joining us again. Thank you, Kina, for coming on and sharing your
Yeah.
story and giving us your time for today. And hopefully, we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good weekend.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
I
Have a great rest of the
appreciate it.
day.
You too. Have a
Bye
great
bye.
one.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.